Okay, hello. This is part one of what will hopefully be a long line of videos. I hope that my sound's good. Okay, so I decided to do this project as a way of documenting my upcoming ayahuasca experience. I'm currently saving up to travel across the world and take part in a ceremony in the Netherlands. I live in the United States. And just a little bit about myself. I'm a college graduate. I graduated in 2005 with a bachelor's degree in fine art. I'm a very artistic person. I paint, I draw, I write, I love photography. And I work for a global company that has like locations all over the world, several thousand employees. And I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional household in rural United States, and I just wanted to make a note of why I'm choosing to remain anonymous, mainly because of my job. Where I work has a very strict anti-drug policy, and if they found out I was planning to do this, they would fire me, probably on the spot. So I plan on making several of these videos up until it happens and even after it happens, but you will never see my face in any of them, and I will never say my real name in any of them either. From this point out, I'll refer to myself only as V. Oh, so, I mean, where to start here? Oh, my cat decided she wanted to say hi. Yeah, I got the camera pointed at my bed, got some candles lit. I was gonna light some sage, but I forgot. Maybe I'll light it. Hopefully you won't see my face. If you do, then I'll cut that out of the video. Light the sage. Yeah, hopefully my smoke alarm won't go off in the middle of the video either. Okay, now that that's taken care of, I'll go into a little bit of my history and what brought me to this point. Well, first of all, I mean, let's talk about what exactly makes someone a psychonaut. Well, you know, an astronaut explores space, an aquanaut explores the sea, a psychonaut explores the mind. And believe it or not, I have actually never taken a psychedelic drug, ever. Never once in my life. My drug experience has actually been very limited. The only thing I've ever done is smoke pot, and I haven't even done that in years. But I still call myself a psychonaut because I have been exploring my mind since I was about 17. I started meditating. Actually, I think I was about 16 when I started meditating. I was 17 when I started having really intense visions during meditation. And I still remember it so vividly. The first vision I ever had during meditation. I was 17. It was a sunny day. I was laying out on the back deck at my mom's house, listening to Pink Floyd. How perfect. And I still remember the song too. It was Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. And I was meditating, and I just slipped into this really, really deep, deep meditation. And I saw like flaming red and orange and yellow colors, and they all started to swirl together into this beautiful pattern, this beautiful spiral pattern. And then there was the silhouette of a person, and he was just silhouetted, and he was floating around toward the center of this spiral. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, don't open your eyes, don't stop concentrating, you know, just concentrate and hold on to it as long as you can. I mean, I knew if I broke my concentration that I would lose the vision. And so, yeah, That was the first one, and ever since I've had some pretty intense meditation experiences. I've seen some pretty interesting things, but I've never taken a psychedelic drug, ever. And just to go into a little bit about my interest in psychedelics, when I was a teenager, I was really interested in taking acid. I mean, like, that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to try acid bad. In fact, I first got on the internet in 1996. AOL. Ha. Old school. But when I got on the internet for the first time in 1996, my screen name was Acid Queen. And, I mean, it was because I was so interested in acid, but, you know, when my parents asked me about it, I told them, oh, it's that song by The Who, you know, don't you know that song? I was kind of, I mean, they already thought I was a weird kid because I listened to music that was before my time anyway, and so, but yeah, I kind of played it off as that it was after that song, which it is a cool song, I mean, but that isn't what it was about. My screen name was Acid Queen because I just really wanted to drop acid. And I did all this research, and it just never happened. I mean, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. And you know, anyway, like, I grew up in a really strict Catholic household. And you know, we lived out in the middle of nowhere, out in the sticks, and like, where was I, a 17-year-old girl, gonna get my hands on acid? I mean, I wouldn't have even known what to say to a dealer if I knew one. Like, there's no way I could have done it at that age. And, you know, my interest continued up until I was in my early 20s, and then I started reading more about acid, and I started meeting more people who had done it, and I just, like, started realizing maybe this isn't for me. I mean, I read about, like, all the damage that it could do to your brain, and and that brings me to another topic that I'll probably get into in some of these later videos, but something unique about me as a person, this sounds a lot worse than it is, but I actually was born with parts of my brain underdeveloped. And yeah, you know, I'm no stranger to YouTube. I can just see the comments now. Ha ha, listen to this fucking retard. Ha ha ha. But no. And I hope that comment didn't offend anybody. But I was born with parts of my brain underdeveloped. I have underdeveloped octave nerves in both of my eyes. It's caused me to have permanent eye problems. I also have no sense of smell. And yeah, it's just part of my brain in the center didn't quite develop all the way when I was in my mother's womb. And so, and you know, I mean, I should add that my mom smoked and drank a lot when she was carrying me, and that's probably why. I mean, I guess you can't check for that kind of thing retroactively, so I'll never really know. But my mom did smoke and drink alcohol a lot when she was carrying me, and that could be the reason, because I wasn't premature or anything like that. I actually was a week overdue. But anyway, I figured, well, you know, I already have an underdeveloped brain, and I don't want to take acid and risk doing more damage to something that's already broken, was kind of my mindset at the time. And I know that's a negative mindset, but that's the mindset I had, being a young, dumb kid. And so I decided that instead I was going to do psilocybin. And the opportunity to do that never presented itself either. Well, I shouldn't say it never presented itself. It just never presented itself in a way that I felt comfortable. Because I refuse to trip in an environment that I don't feel safe in. And yes, I mean, I had friends who would call me over and, hey, we're going to get some mushrooms. You know, you need to come over and do them with us. Then I'd get there and something just wouldn't seem right. And I would, well, usually there ended up not being any mushrooms, for one. I mean, they all knew a guy who was going to come over and bring mushrooms, and it never happened. But even if the guy would have showed up, there were still things about those situations that just didn't seem right. I mean, I remember one night at a party, you know, they're trying to get mushrooms, and I'm there, and they're talking about all the crazy things we're gonna do when we trip. And the one guy, you know, being that I'm the only one in the room who hasn't tripped yet, the one guy is telling everybody that, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna take video of her and post it on the internet. And no. No. So, I mean, I was kind of relieved that the guy didn't show up with the mushrooms, because I didn't want to be called a chicken shit. But I guess, you know, I would rather be called a chicken shit than have incriminating videos of myself posted online. But yeah, you know, I did a lot of research on psilocybin and like the correct dosage for someone like me, and like people's experiences, and like I researched it to the level of like almost being an expert. And I probably would still do it if the opportunity came up and I felt safe. But so far the opportunity has not come up. I mean, and you know, another thing to consider with that, I know that psilocybin is awesome and people have these amazing experiences on it, but I've never met anybody here in my area who has had an experience like that. All I've heard here in my area are psilocybin horror stories. And, you know, I've heard that dealers rip a lot of people off. And basically the story I've heard from people here in my town about psilocybin is that, oh yeah, you know, I went and bought some and it tasted like ass and it made me puke my guts out. And I didn't feel anything. I just got really sick, puked a lot, and passed out. And I just don't feel comfortable going out on the street and buying an illegal drug that could get me into a lot of trouble and then not do anything for me but make me sick. That's not what I want to do. And back in 2007, I first heard about ayahuasca, and I don't even really remember where I first heard about it. And I decided, like, I knew right then that this was something I had to look more into, and that it was something I was interested in. And I didn't know that this existed before that point. And it's always kind of been hiding in the back of my bucket list. I mean, it's always been one of those things that, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to do it sometime. I'm going to do it sometime. There's always been more pressing matters until now. And I decided last spring that I was going to start saving up money to go to the Netherlands next summer and participate in an ayahuasca ceremony. I decided shortly after I decided not to do acid anymore, I decided that my policy on drugs was that if they are natural and the earth made them, then I'm game for trying them. If they were made in a laboratory, I'm not game for trying them. And I know a lot of people argue that and say, well, you know, heroin's made from poppy seeds and cocaine's made from coca plants. Yeah, but, you know, if you chew raw poppy seeds, nothing happens. If you chew raw coca, you know, you get a little bit of a caffeine jolt. And I know it's not true caffeine, but it's akin to the effects of caffeine. Coca has to be processed like hell in a lab for it to become cocaine. And, you know, it's no longer a natural thing anymore. So, like, if the earth made it, then I'll try it. Even though I've never done anything but smoke pot. Another thing that makes ayahuasca so appealing to me is that it's not looked at as this party drug. It's something that's ritualized and held sacred. You know, like, you can go either way with acid or psilocybin or, you know, any of the other psychedelics that are out there. You know, you can do acid in a ritualized setting and it'd be great. But, you know, it's considered mainly a party drug. And ayahuasca is not. I mean, and my interest is not in party drugs. I don't want to get high and party. I want to see something profound. I've suffered from depression pretty much all my adult life and in my childhood. I've never had an official clinical diagnosis, but I've seen my share of counselors and, you know, they all agree I'm depressed. That doesn't count as an official diagnosis though, because they're not psychiatrists. My first bout with depression, I was 8 years old. I went down to stay with my aunt for a little bit in another state, and I came back and just couldn't stop crying for weeks. I was 8 years old, and, you know, instead of helping me and trying to get me through it, my parents just made fun of me and told me, stop being a baby, stop whining, you little pussy, life is hard, deal with it. And, you know, if that first bout with depression isn't treated, then it's worse the next time. But yeah, I've had issues with depression my entire life and anxiety, and I'm just really hoping that this experience can help me through it, because I refuse to go on psych drugs. I mean, I refuse to be a drug zombie pumped full of SSRIs. I mean, I have writhing hatred for the pharmaceutical industry. I'm sure you'll hear more of that in later videos. And you know, when I was younger, I was pretty much forced to take Ritalin, and it just made me feel awful. And that was my introduction to psych drugs. You know, I'm not saying that they don't do anything good for anybody, but so far for me, they haven't done anything good. And from what I hear, like, I know people that are on them. People that are on them who just completely lose their personality. And particularly depressed people who just get more depressed and want to kill themselves. And I just refuse to go down that road. I would rather turn to nature. I mean, I'd rather turn to something that's a lot older than Prozac. I didn't really go in depth with a lot of topics because this is an introductory video, but I mean, this is just part one in a series of videos. I have a couple topics that I want to cover, and my intention is to educate and document this experience. I mean, I'm not saying that everything I mean, I do my best to check my facts the best I can. And, you know, like, if I'm wrong about something, please feel free to correct me. I'm not saying that everything I say is, like, 100% right all the time. I make mistakes, too. I'm human. Get a drink of water there. I have a background in film and video. In college, my major was photography, and my minor was multimedia, was what they called it. But it was basically a combination of digital art and video. And so I have a lot of, like, video and film background, and I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible with, like, minimal editing because I'm a busy person and I don't have a lot of time to put into this. But, you know, I've always wanted to make a documentary, and right now this is the closest I can get to making a documentary. And, you know, since I can't show my face, I'm behind the camera, I figured it's the middle of the night, it's like 2 in the morning right now. This is really my favorite time of the day. It's just so peaceful this time of night, and you know, I just got home from the gym. I've just worked out. I'm just relaxing. I'm about to drink some tea and take a hot shower. And so I figured I would just, like, light a few candles and point the camera at my bed. But yeah, this is part one. This concludes part one of the series. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you like. I look forward to making more videos. And peace.